40 years ago, we opened our doors with one mission in mind.
We'll be right back with the top 10 songs of 1983.
To sell quality American-made vehicles at a fair price.
You have arrived.
And we've loved every minute of the ride. Celebrating 40 years of Two Rivers Ford.
All right, here's the deal, kids. We had a very, very serious situation happen in this city yesterday. That happened in the middle of our show. The essence of that continues to hover over everything that we do today. And I'll be honest, I know how to do today's show less than I knew how to do yesterday's show. And yesterday was something unlike anything I think many of us hopefully have experienced in our lives before. While we deal with this tragedy, Lucas and I have been trying to figure out how the hell to do today's show. And Rachel Wegner of the Tennessean is going to join us here in about 20 minutes from now. She has been doing exceptional reporting and journalism on the situation that took place, the loss of life yesterday at Covenant School and the shooting that occurred. But both of us were asked to be on the morning show today. And Lucas, I don't know how you and I haven't really talked since we left here yesterday, other than to get on the phone this morning. And I don't know, what you did after you left here. I don't know really what I did after I left here. It was just kind of like wandering around, not sure what to do with yourself other than be glued to the news the way so many of us were. But I think with everything going on, like they asked me this morning how I was processing everything. I didn't know how to answer that question. I don't know that anybody does. Once you get past the initial shock, horror, adrenaline in certain cases, certainly if you're emergency response, the way that Metro Nashville PD and fire were yesterday. And then, coming in here and trying to figure out, do people want us to do our show, like our normal show? Because I'll be honest, like we are not serious people. When Robert's in here, Lucas, myself, we're kind of, I don't know. Are we the screwy afternoon or midday radio show around here?
We're
like
class clowns.
I think we're kind of the class clowns. Yeah. Like I don't know how to do things seriously. And so when I asked Lucas this morning, do you want to do show? I don't know that either of us really have the answer to that question today.
Well, we're not going to have new information, right? That was the key yesterday, was trying to give people the newest information possible. Right now we have all the information. So at this point, all you can do today is reflect and say the names of Evelyn, Hallie, William, Catherine, Cynthia, and Mike that we lost yesterday. Talk about the response from Metro Nashville PD and try to put people's minds in a positive place. Because I think that's the hardest thing for people. It is for me when you leave yesterday and you go home and, you just go about your day, right? You just go home and go for a walk or get a bite to eat or go to the gym or whatever. That seems wrong because there's people that don't get to go about their day that won't get to do that for a long time. But there's not much more you can do. So,
no, but that right there, there's not much more you can do.
I'm talking about personally in the moment.
No, I understand.
Yeah, when you go home after a day like yesterday.
I wasn't taking that in a different direction. I think for us, walking out of here yesterday morning, because we're about 24 hours removed from this happening, just about.
Almost exactly.
Yeah.
The phone call to police, the official call to police will have happened 24 hours from 7 minutes from now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So after I was very happy that the resolution for this was not worse. And forgive me if I mispronounce the last names of the officers, Rex Engelbert and Michael Colazzo or Colazzo. Forgive me. I hope I'm not doing that. I hope I'm not butchering those. But either way, the response time by Metro Nashville PD to get that situation secured as quickly as humanly possible after, how quickly things could have spun out of control even further than they did.
I think Chief John Drake as well for his transparency through this whole thing. The whole department's transparency.
Everybody involved.
Yeah.
In fact, we have some audio from Chief John Drake that I sent to the group this morning, Lucas. He made an appearance on the CBS Morning Show. And I think the thing that kind of put me in a different mindset today, because at some point, the three of us are going to try and do the show. Like, we're going to try and, tell you what in sports made us say, oh, no, this weekend. We're going to try and talk about Mike Vrabel and what he had to say about Ryan Tannehill's contract situation. We're going to try. If you don't want us to, we completely understand. And we're prepared to do reflection and processing and essentially 3 hours of therapy with you today if you want to. We're here for you guys. We're fortunate to be able to get to do this job, but we're not here for us. We're here to entertain you. So if you feel that whenever we decide that we're going to try and pivot to sports today, if you feel it's inappropriate, if you feel it's too soon, you have a direct line to us, 615-737-1045, because we've got a lot of people around this thing that obviously were impacted and affected. But I want you to hear from Chief Drake, who made an appearance on the CBS Morning Show today, before we speak with Rachel Wegner, the reporter at the Tennessean, who was doing such exceptional work on this story yesterday to make sure that everybody was informed as humanly possible. This is the exchange that Chief Drake had with Gail. Forgive me, I'm blanking on Gail's last name.
Gail Sayers.
Gail Sayers on CBS.
Police say this attacker was heavily armed and this attack was carefully planned. We're joined now by Nashville's police chief. His name is John Drake. Good to see you, Chief Drake. I'm so sorry it's under these circumstances. My heart is so heavy. I'm so sad, so angry and mad. I cannot imagine how you were feeling this morning. I've seen interviews with you where you say that you think the motive here was resentment. What do you mean by resentment? What does that mean? Resentment about what?
So the investigation is still ongoing into this whole incident. But what detectives have said so far is there's possibly some resentment for having to go to that school. There's a connection with that family. Right now, I can't go deeply into that, but because it's unconfirmed. But that's really where that came from.
What makes you say the attack was carefully planned?
So we have a manifesto. We have a booklet that shows exactly what she had planned to do. We have maps that showed the entry point into the school, the weapons that was going to be used, the clothing that she was going to wear. She had drawn it up almost like a cartoon character. It was exactly what she had on during this incident. And she was a previous student. She had some connections there. The head of the school was assassinated in the hallway. So we feel it was targeted and planned.
Mm-hmm. You think she was targeting 9-year-old children?
It's so unfortunate as this investigation continues to go. The kids was obviously targeted. Praise goes out to the men and women the 2 officers actually who went into the school, because we could have had far more casualties than what we had. They immediately responded, went inside, addressed and mitigated the suspect. And I give the school credit as well, because for some reason the alarm was going off, the fire alarm, and there wasn't any kids in the hallway. And I think they've gone through some type of training. I'll find out more about that today. But they played a great role as well in preventing more lives from being lost.
You know, Chief Drake, you've spent a life in law enforcement. That involves seeing some things. I'm sure you've been in some tough situations. Could you take us back to the scene yesterday when you arrived? I heard you at the press conference, which I was covering live yesterday, talk about tears coming to your eyes. What did you see, and how did it move you?
I was so hurt. I've been in this profession for 35 years, and I've trained for these type of situations just as the officers have. And when the call went out, I immediately canceled everything I had going for the day, went out to the scene, and it really was just a few minutes from having to go into the school myself. I saw kids coming out holding hand in hand. I saw officers coming out bleeding. I saw just raw emotion. I had officers tell me they wasn't sure if they could do this anymore after carrying kids out of the building. It was just a tough scene.
What can you tell us about the shooter? Have you talked to the shooter's family? What can you tell us about this person?
So we know the shooter to be Audrey Hale. She's 28 years old. She actually attended that school. And has some history there. We've talked to the father and the mother. They lived on Brightwood Avenue. We went to that residence, interviewed them, searched the home. We found 2 more weapons there, and I believe some more maps pertaining to maybe some thinking about some other incidents. We strongly believe there was going to be some other targets, including maybe family members, and one of the malls here in Nashville, and it just did not happen.
Chief, your hometown is Nashville. I would like to give you an opportunity to send a message to Nashville and the rest of the country, if you will, because this is something we are collectively dealing with here in the U.S.
I want to say to Nashville and to the rest of the country, we have to do something with gun violence and mental illness. Our kids are counting on this. I was in conversations with my daughter this morning. I have a 4-year-old grandson, and she's considering homeschooling, a place where it's supposed to be safe. We send our little loved ones off. They're excited to go to school. They're excited to be around friends, and then have to deal with this tragedy. We have to come together. We have to address gun violence, and we have to address mental illness and make it safe for the ones that we love the most and our most vulnerable, which are our kids.
Yeah, we keep saying that message, and this keeps happening. You said you talked to Audrey Hale's parents. What did they say?
So it's really hard for them emotionally right now. Our detectives have talked to them, and we're just combing through trying to find out what was going on. It was just really emotional because they lost a child. during all of this as well. And so it's very traumatic for them, too.
So that is Metro Nashville Police Chief Drake on CBS this morning. Lucas, who was the interviewer?
I'm told it's not late legendary Chicago Bears running back Gale Sayers that hosts CBS Mornings with Nate Burleson and co.
Are you certain?
That's what I'm told, but I don't think that's right.
Is our local Chicago Bears running back?
You're telling me
correspondent, perhaps behind the glass?
You're telling me that late legendary Chicago Bears running back Gale Sayers is not also a legendary journalist and host of CBS Mornings?
Wait, late. Is Gale?
Yes, Gale Sayers left us 3 years ago.
Okay.
Apologies to Gale King.
I'm almost glad that we screwed it up. Can I say that? Guys, I desperately want to find some way to like laugh and screw around today. We're not going to treat this insensitively, but like when Lucas said Gale Sayers in my ear, I felt like that wasn't right.
felt wrong as soon as I said it.
You know what I did? I said it anyway.
The first Gale that popped in my head.
Why are we so stupid?
Why are we so bad at this?
How could we be trusted to do the 3 hours of radio that we did yesterday when we can't even get the name of the interviewers right?
I ask myself that every day.
Rachel Wagner has done exceptional journalism. She is actually good at her job. She works for the Tennessean, and she was on the scene yesterday at the Covenant School shooting. We're going to see what information there is to be gleaned since in the 24 hours that have passed. 10:13 a.m. yesterday is when the initial call came in to Metro Nashville Police of the school shooting at Covenant School. So Rachel Wagner will provide us more insights and what she was able to learn on the ground yesterday here on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show on this Tuesday. Buck Rising here with you until 1 o'clock. We are about 24 hours removed from one of the darkest moments that I think we've had as a city. We're fortunate, though, to have great people keeping the local population informed and making sure that good journalism is done and that facts are reported thoroughly and efficiently. Rachel Wegner of the Tennessean joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. Her and her colleagues doing exceptional work yesterday from the scene. Rachel, thank you so much. I'm sorry that we're having you on under these circumstances.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I guess from just before we start talking about the facts of what it is that you guys saw and reported out yesterday, being in a situation like that, as somebody who covers children's issues specifically for the newspaper, what is the human element of this for you? Because I can't even begin to imagine how it is that you process something like that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I was driving down I-65 when I started getting messages and just quickly got off toward Green Hills, and I was on the phone just talking to a loved one. Like, it doesn't quite feel real, but there were like dozens of emergency vehicles flying by me. I lost count, and it was just like the gravity of that situation as I got closer was starting to hit me more, and speaking with folks and realizing, this has happened here in our neighborhood and our community is such a surreal, gut-wrenching feeling for sure.
So the report came in at 10:13 in the morning yesterday. At what time did you arrive at the scene?
I think it was just before 11 that I was able to get there. Definitely a lot of chaos in that first hour after the reports started going out. So it was a little difficult to actually get close, but I parked somewhere down Hillsborough Pike and just walked till I could find an officer that pointed me in the right direction. So I think it was ultimately around 11 that I posted up in the media staging area and also spoke with a few people that were standing around.
And so in the chaos, how I guess, what is the process of going about this, Rachel? We work in the playground version of what it is that actual journalists do for a living. So we were on the air yesterday, obviously, and trying to suss through information as best we could. To be at a scene like that, other than to watch it on television from our studio here in West End, I can't even begin to imagine how one goes about trying to do the job. What does the process look like from there when you arrive on a scene that understandably is in complete chaos, as you said? Right.
So the first thing I always do is just talk to the nearest officer and say, hey, I'm trying to find, the commander or who's in charge of the scene. Can you point me in the right direction? Usually they, relatively quickly will set up like a media staging area, but we know just to stick to the police lines and then flag down, a nearby officer. And then we were pretty quickly getting information from Metro Police and Nashville Fire about where the parents were being sent to be reunified, and also hearing reports that the patients were taken to Vanderbilt. So we dispatched teams to each of those spots, the church where the parents were, Vanderbilt emergency building, and then also different points around the school itself.
Rachel Wegner of the Tennessean is here with us on 104.5 The Zone. She was one of many people on the scene at the Covenant School shooting yesterday. What we know is that 6 lives were lost, a 7th, the shooter neutralized and killed after engaging with Metro Nashville Police Department, who operated in a manner that I can't even begin to understand how quickly they got there and were able to take control of the situation. It sounds like Covenant School had some kind of preparation or had done something that they understood how to basically, turn. I think the fire alarm was something that they had set off, even though there was no indication that had been done other than manually. So it seemed like they had tried to do something to alert somebody as to there being an issue at the school. What do we know, though, Rachel, at this point about the shooter, 28-year-old Audrey Elizabeth Hale?
Yes. So we know that at one point Hale was a student at the school. We're not sure when. We also know that police found what they called a manifesto and a map of the school and other writings in Hale's possession. I don't know if it was in a car or at a family home, but they have not shared the contents of those writings other than just that it was clear that the map of the school was somewhat of a plan. So other than knowing that Hale was at one point a student and also had, these documents, we don't know much else about the shooter. So that is about the extent of our knowledge today. We're not sure if Metro Police will release more information throughout the day, but we'll certainly be keeping an eye out for that.
I guess that because there has not been much new information, obviously, since we discovered the names of the victims, obviously the 6, and of course the name, the identity of the shooter at this point, and how we've seen the body camera footage from Metro Nashville Police and also security camera footage from the school itself that showed Hale physically entering the building after shooting doors open or trying to shooting through the glass to get the doors open to gain access to the school. I guess in the midst of this, Rachel, and the question that I'd ask you, have you had experience with a circumstance like this before across the course of your career in journalism? Because while it is something that we have not experienced here in Nashville, certainly during my time here, this is a circumstance that is not necessarily uncommon across the country. I'm unfamiliar if you've covered anything like this before.
So I've not been directly on the scene of a school shooting, not in my own city. I did spend some time in Washington, D.C. and worked with Education Week as an intern, and I was there when the Parkland high school shooting happened in Florida. So I was part of the team that was pulling, coverage in for that, but I wasn't directly covering it myself. But that is a pretty formative moment for me as an intern back in 2018, experiencing that and seeing my teammates spring into action and being part of the coverage. I also helped cover the March for Our Lives, which happened several months later in D.C. that was led by those students and other activists, and bumped into a few of those activists around D.C. in my time there. But beyond that, I have not covered anything like a school shooting. I have covered countless numbers of other shootings, the tornadoes in 2020, the bombing in 2020, the pandemic, along with the catastrophic flooding in Waverly. And then before I was a children's reporter, I was a breaking news reporter, so I covered crime for several years at this point. So unfortunately, I have written about a lot of things like this, but nothing like this, certainly nothing like this. It's probably one of the hardest days in the news for many of us here at the Tennessean.
And we certainly appreciate the work that you and your colleagues and so many others on the scene yesterday were able to provide. Rachel Wegner of the Tennessean here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Because I guess the question becomes for us, as you mentioned, Metro Nashville not releasing any further information at this point, whether they do so or not throughout the course of the day or in the coming days remains to be seen. Because I think the question that certainly we get around here the most, I'm certain you do as well on social media, is what comes next?
Yeah, there is a massive investigation underway right now. My understanding is that Metro is at the helm of it, but the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and the DA are also overseeing and assisting. I anticipate that we'll have incremental updates like we have already today with, last night we had the surveillance footage from the school. This morning we had the body camera footage. I'm not entirely sure if or when we'll have more news briefings, but just the number of media tents alone outside the school seem to indicate that there might be more updates to come, I hope. But at this point, we're not entirely sure what's coming next. But we've certainly been talking with loved ones and people affected by this shooting and the victims' families as we're able to reach them. And I think that is some of the work ahead of us in the days to come, is trying to learn more information and then also tell the story of the people that have been affected directly by this tragedy.
Rachel, you mentioned the media tents out there. I know you've been out there this morning. So what is the scene like at Covenant School today, 24 hours later? And then talk about not knowing what's next. I imagine that goes for the school as well. Is there any information on how the school proceeds from here?
So the entrances to the school were all, blocked off, which is to be expected. So the stark contrast of the scene from yesterday to today is just that it's so much quieter, but there are so many people there still. It's just very quiet and muted, like compared to yesterday when there was just the chaos of helicopters and sirens and parents. I was watching parents run up the hill on Hillsborough Pike. That's one of the things that stood out to me, was just sprinting up that hill trying to find someone to tell them where to go, and then they were running back down the hill to go toward the church where the kids were being reunited. And but today it was, a few people coming and laying flowers down, lots of tears as folks, walked up to that makeshift memorial, and then just kind of this quiet hum around the media tents, as lots of cameras are set up and certain reporters are maybe doing like updates from the field. But yeah, we've just been waiting to see if there might be another briefing. We were definitely waiting for the body camera footage because we knew that would either come overnight or sometime today. So as of right now, that seems to be the latest, but the mood was definitely very muted and subdued. I noticed some flags that were at half-mast at one of the office buildings nearby as well, and it's kind of those indicators of what's happened, but lots and lots of people out there seeming to wait for what they can find out next.
Tennessean.com is where you can read the work that Rachel and her colleagues have done and will continue to do on this story and so many others. Currently watching the body camera footage from Officer Rex Engelbert right now as we speak with Rachel Wegner of the Tennessean. You mentioned telling the affected parties' stories in all of this, and amidst the chaos, you guys were able to speak to a variety of different people around the situation. What were you able to glean from those conversations, and how do you go about the storytelling element of this while things are still so raw? I feel that's a delicate balance people may not necessarily understand when you going about your job the way that needs to be done.
Yeah. It's always a really difficult thing to do. Feels unnatural, right? You want to just let people have space. But I've always taken the approach of, like, we're human beings first, and it's okay to show emotion because you're connecting as people. So I went and spoke with some neighbors yesterday that were standing on the corner watching everything unfold. And one of them had, friends who have kids at the school and a wife that worked at the school, and she saw him running up the hill. So she's telling me that story. And then another neighbor said, yeah, my daughter goes to school nearby. And I was like, how are you feeling about that? Have you been able to go get her? And she said, no, they asked us, not to come right now. They're still on lockout. I haven't been able to talk to her. And just kind of getting that, like, you're standing here watching this happen, and for a little while, those people didn't know if their children were involved, what school it was. All they knew is there had been a shooting and that there's helicopters and emergency vehicles blaring by. So just talking through the moment by moment, asking people easier questions in between the hard ones, kind of breaking up the conversation, and at any point saying, if you don't want to answer my questions, it's okay. If you need to step away, it's okay. If you change your mind, it's okay. And trying to, at the very least, not make things worse, right? Put people at ease as much as I can. So it's difficult, but I can attest to my colleagues at the Tennessean just doing an excellent job, being compassionate and being gentle, but also not being afraid to try and speak with folks And even this morning, people laying flowers down, just stopping and talking with them and trying to gauge if they were willing to be part of my story, or if really just talking with them, helps me understand the feelings and what's going on in their heads. So, yeah, it is. It's like threading a needle is what I say, trying to approach people on such a tragic day.
Well, you've done so exceptionally well thus far, and we appreciate the work that you continue to do, you and your colleagues at the Tennessean and so many other news outlets, providing us more information and context on a tragedy that occurred in this city yesterday. Rachel Wegner of the Tennessean has been kind enough to join us here on 104.5 The Zone, Tennessean.com for all of the news and information that they are able to gather and provide. Rachel, thank you so much for taking time. I know it's it's an incredibly busy time for you, and you know, just on a personal level, keep your head up, because I can't even imagine what it's like to be working through that process right now. Thank you so much for the job that you've done.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're definitely looking out for each other, and I appreciate the kind words.
Rachel Wegner there with us on 104.5 The Zone. So, what do we think, boys? What we have discussed amongst ourselves, because we can continue to cover this and talk about your emotions out there listening to a variety of different actors. We have audio and video that we are prepared to play and continue the discussion around the Covenant school shooting. We also have the ability to do normal sports talk radio if that's something that you guys are interested in. 24 hours, just a few minutes more than 24 hours since this tragedy has occurred. The shooter was neutralized at about 10:37 yesterday. It's 10:41 right now. 24 hours is not a lot of time to process a situation like this, but I don't know. This is as much as I don't like this being a democracy around here, I feel like it should be. How are we feeling back there about where we should go now with people? We did put it to a poll, as unscientific as the Twitter polls are. It's the only poll that we have up today at Buck Rising, but I'm prepared to go around the room and, depending on how the two of you feel about this, I can go either way.
We asked, do you want us to do a normal show today? 71% said yes. Puka saying maybe a mix, start the way you are, maybe blend some stuff, a little humor in. Gary says as normal as possible. Ain't nobody feeling normal right now. So I think we can continue to be reflective, and I think it's important to highlight the victims. Yeah, let's make fun of Jerry Jones a little bit.
You want to do the thing that made us say, oh, no, in sports? Is that what you're telling me? Okay, let's try it. 615-737-1045. We're going to try to do some normal show. We're going to see if we can't make you laugh. If anything else, we'll probably embarrass ourselves, and then maybe you can laugh at us. That's next. we're going to try and do show. I don't know what the vibe is right now. The energy is weird. Understandably so. It's a weird day in Middle Tennessee. But I think that, we're uniquely equipped for weird around here. So in as many different lacking graceful ways as we can transition to what it is that we've been dealing with, to what it is that we're going to try to do now. Why don't you go ahead and give me the music?
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh, no.
Oh yeah!
What in sports made you say, oh no, this weekend? 615-737-1045. Let's see if we can't laugh at some stuff a little bit, shall we? I got one for you. It's a doozy. We started off yesterday talking about Lamar Jackson, his request for a trade from the Baltimore Ravens. Perhaps that will make an appearance when we get to Robert Walsh's oh no in just a little bit. But Lamar Jackson requesting a trade on March the 2nd. Negotiations not going well with the Ravens, or it seems for Lamar and any other team at this stage. So much so that even teams that make the most sense for Lamar are deciding to declare themselves out on potentially acquiring his services. Commanders general manager Martin Mayhew was asked about the Lamar Jackson situation yesterday, given that their quarterback room currently looks like Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett, a.k.a. Jake Brisket. This is what the Commanders GM had to say about pursuing Lamar Jackson.
And, we probably end up making serious contract offers, having serious discussions with somewhere between 10 and 20 of those guys each year. So there are a ton of talented players that could help us, but we don't end up talking to for various reasons. And Lamar falls into that category.
Why does Lamar fall into that category, knowing the caliber of player he is, for
well, there are a ton of quality players. I mean, Javon Hargrave is an excellent, really good defensive tackle. We're not talking to him, So there are a number of reasons why we don't. I won't get into specifics about him. I don't want to sound critical of anyone. He's a very talented guy.
There's plenty of talented players that the Commanders don't pursue, is the logic that the Washington GM just gave for them not being interested in Lamar Jackson. Am I insane?
What a terrible example he gave of
Javon Hargrave?
Well, not only that, but a defensive tackle, of which they have several, of which they just paid one big time.
Gave a bunch of money
in Daron Payne. So don't throw a position. Hey, we didn't talk to this guy. Yeah, because you have 2 All-Pro ones on your roster. Where's your quarterback?
It's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. It may well be the dumbest thing in sports this week, but today's a Tuesday, not a Wednesday, so there will be time for that.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Go ahead and give me the TikTok. Martin Mayhew, what the hell?
My oh no of the sports weekend goes to Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. Do you remember this story about a 26-year-old woman who has sued Jerry Jones because she says she is his daughter?
Oh, no.
You're not aware of this?
Wait.
We've definitely talked about this on the show before. Alexandra Davis, a congressional aide, sought recognition. This is straight from ESPN, by the way, Don Van Natta. Davis sought recognition as Jones's daughter in a lawsuit filed last year that indicated Jones paid her $375,000 and set up 2 trusts to conceal that he was her biological father.
Oh, bleep off. Jerry is not out here trying to cover up illegitimate children.
Oh, how shocking. The latest development, here's the first sentence in the ESPN story. A 26-year-old woman on Monday filed a federal defamation suit against Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, a longtime Arkansas friend and Cowboys spokesman, alleging the 3 men, quote, initiated a deliberate plan to portray the billionaire's own daughter as an extortionist and a shakedown artist whose motivation was money and greed. So, not only did Jerry Jones allegedly pay off this woman and her mother to hide the fact that she is his biological daughter, now she is suing him for defamation for saying that she's an extortionist just looking for money. So the lawsuit, here's what her lawyer, her Dallas lawyer, here's a quote from her Dallas lawyers. Not once did defendant Jones or any of his agents ever deny that plaintiff was defendant Jones's daughter. Instead, defendant Jones chose the avenue of calling his own daughter an extortionist, merely to make his own public image less despicable by attempting to discredit plaintiff's reputation and character in the public eye. Rather than acknowledge his child or even taking the opportunity to get to know his child, my father, this is from Davis, my father and his associates have publicly smeared my reputation and intentions. I have falsely been accused of a shakedown and extortion. In reality, I am a daughter who simply wants to acknowledge her father without fear of retribution. I will not stand by and let my father's actions or words define me or my future. Jerry Jones is my oh no of the sports weekend.
He has a new scandal every year. Every year, Jerry does.
Does it say how she went about doing this? Because, I honestly think I bear a striking resemblance to Jerry Jones as well. My mom used to spend a lot of time in the Dallas area. And I would like to pursue this. I think oil money would look good on me. I think I'd look good with a big-ass star on my chest.
I think you might be onto something.
Jerry Jones might be my daddy, y'all.
You think your dad would be on board with this?
I think my dad would sign off on it. My mom was a little promiscuous back in the day. She used to dance with multiple partners.
Oh,
you know
my
what I mean?
God.
No, it's okay. She's a beautiful woman. She's a great woman. Maybe that's my oh no. Jerry Jones could be my daddy, y'all. I once went to an ECU benefit, and I watched my mama plant one on Jeff Blake. No kiss on the cheek, not a kiss on the forehead. She put one right on his lips in front of God and his wife and everybody.
Stop!
I could be Jeff Blake's kid.
The fact that our idea to try and salvage the show today is to call Gayle King Gale Sayers and for Robert to call his mother promiscuous.
That's just another day. I don't know what you're talking about.
We're back, baby. We're back. We're going to get to Robert Walsh's oh no coming up next, and also another second family in sports that it's got me thinking. I may put together a top 10 list of people in sports who have second families that they're not telling people about. That's next.
It is 11:02. Good morning from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The women's Final Four is set in stone. Elite Eight action on Monday saw South Carolina race past Maryland 86-75 to stay undefeated, and Virginia Tech beat Ohio State 84-74. So the Final Four will start on Friday in Dallas. The first game be between LSU and Virginia Tech. The second between South Carolina and Iowa. The men's Final Four taking place in Houston on Saturday. Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson announced on social media yesterday that he requested a trade from the Baltimore Ravens on March 2nd. The Ravens placed Jackson on the non-exclusive franchise tag just days later. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour is here. Happy to have you guys with us on 104.5 The Zone. We told you in the first hour, if you were hanging out with us, that we were going to try and do show today. We waded through some good information from Rachel Wegner of the Tennessean, who was on the scene yesterday at the Covenant School shooting, and we decided, you know what? Let's try and do some show. What immediately happened is that the two of them back there brought this thing to a screeching halt because Robert is now alleging that he is one of Jerry Jones's illegitimate children in the midst of our things that made you say, oh no, it's sports segment. And honestly, I don't know how to rectify the situation because I feel like Robert is taking out some frustrations that he may have on anybody and everybody who gets within earshot or the sound of his voice, because it's a very sensitive time for our dear friend, the Red Flash. So as we continue to do the things in sports that make us say, oh no, I now cede the floor to one Robert Walsh, unless he's going to take out his mother, intentionally or unintentionally again.
No, that was Jerry Jones. And I think he took her out intentionally. Was his plan. No. But now he's trying to say that I'm not his son, which is where I will be taking him to court.
So the date was intentional. You were not.
That's what I've always been told, is that I was an accident, a mistake, if you will.
Well,
what were you expecting me to talk about? Because my own know is Bradley Beal.
What?
Have you guys not? What do you think I was going to talk about?
What
anyway, Bradley Beal last week played a game
wait.
against the Orlando. What am I waiting on?
Stop.
By the way, you couldn't be Jerry Jones' son. Your eyes are far too close together.
I mean, my mom has very close together eyes.
What are you accusing Jerry Jones of?
His eyes are very far apart.
Is that what makes him look a bit like a lizard?
I think there's too much space between his two eyeballs. But continue. Bradley Beal.
Bradley Beal.
No, why are you doing Bradley Beal? I thought I teed this whole thing up for you to come in here and tell us all about Lamar Jackson not wanting to play for your Baltimore Ravens anymore because people need happiness in the Middle Tennessee area. Nothing makes them happier than the Ravens being down tremendous, and that's what seems to be the case.
Let him cook.
Lamar doesn't want to be in Baltimore? Is that what you're telling me? Is this news? Let me tell you something. Let me break this down for you. Yesterday, I laid in the bathtub for about maybe an hour and a half, wondering what was next for the Baltimore Ravens. And then I had an epiphany. I wish my name was Tiffany. It could be Tiffany's epiphany. But I didn't. I realized that this doesn't mean anything. It means zero. Let me take you back to last year. One Deebo Samuel said, I would like a trade from the 49ers. I do not want to be here anymore. And what happened?
He's still there.
He's still there. He got his ticket. He got his money. He doesn't even have to play running back anymore. He got exactly what he wanted. Let me take you back to 2009. Same franchise, Baltimore Ravens. Their franchise pillar, Ray Lewis, said, I want more money, and I want it now. And the Ravens said, you know what? Go find it.
Like J.G. Wentworth.
Go. It's my money, and I need it now.
No free ads.
They said, go find it. And he did. The Dallas Cowboys offered him a fat contract.
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere else with that.
A fat contract. And he walked that contract back to Baltimore, and they matched it, and the rest is history. Lamar has no leverage right now. He's scared. He doesn't have an agent. He has no one on his team. So he has to be a little political, a little militant in this stuff.
Well, but you don't know that. You're telling me that it's a coincidence that he dropped that as John Harbaugh is stepping up to the mic at NFL owners meetings?
And that's my point, is that he has to be militant with these things. He knew exactly what he was doing. And John, for everything bad that Ravens fans have to say about him.
I love that you're on a first-name basis with the Ravens head coach.
Of course, him and Jerry.
Oh.
I mean, I'm first-name basis with a lot of these guys. You
mean
stick
Dad?
around my mom longer.
Yeah, you mean Dad.
That's what happens when you have a mom like mine who goes out and
No.
kisses men on the mouth. Anyway, I digress from my promiscuous mother.
I hope that she doesn't listen to any of this.
I
Yeah, I
hope she-
rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
Thank you, Caleb Farley.
It's okay.
We're sorry, Mrs. Walsh.
I'm so sorry.
Lamar has to do these things to drum up genuine interest. And every time, what has happened? Someone stepped up and said, like the general manager for the Commanders, we have no interest in Lamar. We have no interest in Lamar. This is something that's just going to be walked and walked and walked until we get a resolution. And because Lamar does not have an agent to leak things, to further stories, these are the things that have to happen. So sometimes when you get in spats with your girlfriend, maybe you say, you know what? We need to take a break. We need to see other people. She might go out and kiss the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. She may go on a date with Ryan Reynolds. But if your love is true and your love is pure, she will come back. Much more experienced than you left her.
No, she won't.
Yeah, she's probably not.
Not from Ryan
I'm
Reynolds.
just working through it.
Not from Ryan Reynolds or Lamar Jackson.
Let me tell you something. If my girlfriend went on a date with Ryan Reynolds, I would tell her to stay there. It would be like Billy Madison. Stay here as long as you can. Don't leave him. And then I would laugh. We would laugh together in an oversized jacuzzi that we would share after she divorced him and took half of his money. Because that's the kind of love we have. That's what we have with Lamar. Lamar is just out here sowing his wild oats, seeing what teams might like to take him on a date. And in the end, he's going to realize home is where the heart is. I miss you, Lamar. Come back home.
Do you, the kisses. Do you feel good about the girlfriend that comes back or the boyfriend that comes back with more experience? Because I feel like you don't necessarily.
Better than I could teach him. You know what I mean? Like,
No,
go on, girl. Go live your life. Go get a mud bath in Tuscany. I don't care. Go live your life, girl. And then tell me about it. Because I sure ain't taking no mud bath in Tuscany. I could take a mud bath in my backyard right now. Y'all should see the state of it after all these wind and rain we've got.
Well, that's what he means when he says he's laid in the bathtub for an hour. There's just a mud pit in his backyard.
Just sloshing back and forth. If you were in my house, all you heard was me rolling over in the bathtub. Like, just, you know how...
How many cigarettes did you put out in the bathwater?
Now, see, I can say a lot of things on air, but I cannot talk about me smoking cigarettes inside my house because my girlfriend will pull up down here.
Just like 6 cigarette butts floating in the bathtub.
She's like, stop putting them out in the toilet. You are not good at flicking cigarettes. You cannot flick them to the toilet.
I just...
The limit does not exist.
There's a word I want to say right now that rhymes with bucket, and it's not the F word, and it's what I think Robert is displaying right now. I don't know that I can say this word on FCC radio.
Stuck?
Well, it also rhymes with stuck.
Luck? Truck?
Muck.
Put a C in front of it. Don't say it. I don't know if we can say that word.
We
but
cannot, or I would have already made a segment out of it.
Robert copping to being comfortable with his girlfriend being with other men is the word that I'm seeking that I'm not sure if I can use on the air. You publicly admitting to that and your mother's promiscuity, allegedly, and your, alleged ties to Jerry Jones and the Jones family as you try to make a play for oil money and Dallas Cowboys money on top of all of that, and Ryan Reynolds money, apparently. That was quite the pivot that I did not expect us to take today.
Two things. One, I'm not inviting any schlub off the street to take my girlfriend on a date. You have to pass the 6 rule, right? Got to be 6 figures, 6 foot tall, 6-pack. You got to have all of those things, everything that I do not have. And in that case, we will laugh to the bank once your relationship's over. We have that. If I could find a woman, I think Cheyenne would be okay with me finding it. Like if Oprah, for whatever reason, was like, you know what? I love the humor of that Robert guy. And Oprah wanted to let me into her life. Cheyenne would be okay with that.
What about Gail Sayers?
We would... Gail Sayers, that's more my mom's
Sorry,
speed.
Gail King.
Gail King is more my speed.
Not late legendary running back Gail Sayers.
You know what? Either one of them could take me on a date. That doesn't bother me. And two, I'm burning the candle at both ends, baby. I'm trying to get it while I'm here. So if Jerry Jones wants to give me a little oil money, if my mama wants to date NFL ex superstar, however I can get it, I'm here for the money, baby. Take me to the bank.
You know where I'm taking you?
Where's that?
The shadows.
Give me that money, baby.
Got a break. I feel like this was the soundtrack for like my 7th grade like mixer dances.
Oh, yeah.
With other schools.
Which could be problematic.
Just yeah, but so was, to the window, to the walls, sweat dropped down my what?
Your what?
They hadn't even dropped yet, and sweat was dropping down them.
When you guys sing this with your friends, what part do you guys sing? Do you guys sing the Nelly part, or do you sing the girls part?
The girls part.
Like, why is it like the girl part? Like, I don't know. It's like infinitely more a banger than Nelly's part. Like, promiscuous boy.
Well, that's not Nelly.
You're one and the same.
Nelly Furtado.
Yeah, Nelly Furtado is the girl.
It's Nelly. Robert's been all over the place. During this break, he also thought that we were going to play. He's like, yeah, it's Bruno Mars, right? It's like promiscuous girls all over the world. Like, no, that's beautiful girls all over the world. So he's like, so who sings this one? And I guess I didn't say Nelly Furtado. It's Nelly Furtado and Timbaland.
So it's not Nelly, like the big buff one that was
It's
in
not the
Longest
rapper
Yard.
Nelly. It is the producer Timbaland. He is the man in the song.
Is this more egregious than Buck not knowing the Rumors album? Or
I know the damn Rumors album.
I don't think you do.
Do you know what year was Promiscuous released?
04.
No, 07.
6. Great song.
You went over, though, so I technically win.
No, you don't win.
By Mountain Climber rules. You ever watch Price is Right? You went over, buddy.
You just came out here and described Nelly, one of the most famous pop culture figures of our generation, as the buff dude in The Longest Yard. Of all the things to pull from Nelly's career, that's the place that
he
you
was
went.
great in that movie.
He was. He was the whole reason the Mean Machine won that game.
Yeah, great running back.
And they had. Did you see what the officers they had? Like Stone Cold, Kevin Nash. Like they had the all-star team, and all they had was Paul Crewe. Longest Yard, man.
What do you want me to do with that? Longest Yard man is what you left me with. That's the dead fish you dropped in my lap.
That'd be a great superhero. Longest Yard man. I have the longest yard.
I hate you so much. 615-737-1045. Jason in Portland is next. Hey, Jason.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Buck. Hey, look, man, this whole thing with Aaron Rodgers is like a clogged up toilet. I'm just waiting on it to be flushed. Like, it's irritating my skin, my whole being.
Oh, God.
I mean, yeah, everything is just clogged up. And now they said that one thing sticking is they want a guarantee that he don't just, some type of safety valve with the Jets that he don't play one game and he's done. Give them what they want so that and going back to Nelly Furtado, I almost wish I was like her first song, like a bird, and I can just fly away from this Aaron Rodgers thing. I mean, it's terrible, man. I'm just ready to end it. So that's my oh no for the week. Y'all have a good day.
That's fantastic.
And what? You sound like you're constipated,
That's
Jason.
great job. That's great work by Jake. He pulled the Nelly Furtado stuff back around.
Well, he's doing better than us. We have Robert thinking that Nelly is the one singing the song Promiscuous Girls.
How many Nellies could there possibly be? That seems like an oversight. Like, if there was already one big Nelly, you should just go by Furtado, which sounds like an incredible Italian dessert.
Who came first? Nelly or Nelly Furtado?
The chicken or the egg? A tale as old as time.
So while Jason in Portland tries to plunge his system of Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, it does bring up a unique kind of situation that New York is in. And as the NFL owners meet in Phoenix and the coaches and general managers meet there as well for the annual NFL owners meetings, this is something that's going to be discussed at length as
So they debuted at the same time, Bert. Nelly and Nelly Furtado's debut album both came out in 2000. So who's to say it's not the same person?
You're telling me that Maneater, that song by Nelly Furtado, I've listened to that song a million times. I'm like, where is Nelly in this song? Like, did he just produce Maneater?
You thought Furtado was like the producer on Nelly's album.
No,
Yes!
I mean, given his grammatical struggles, he probably thought it said featured.
What do you want from me? I can only be good at so many things.
So that explains it. He thought that Promiscuous
I want you to
Girl,
have a basic third grade reading comprehension level.
the song Promiscuous Girl is by Nelly featuring Timbaland.
I thought Nelly's last name was Furtado.
Oh, my
I
God.
had no idea.
Nope. Nelly Furtado is a Canadian pop singer with the bangers like Promiscuous Girl.
Since you're going to
She wasn't in Longest Yard, I'll tell you that.
She was. Couldn't play running back.
She is 44.
Oh.
And I guess she hasn't been very active recently.
What's she look like that now? She got a man?
You have a woman, unless she's leaving you for Ryan Reynolds.
I'm telling you, I'm trying to hook up a package deal. Like maybe we could switch. Nelly, I could go with Nelly Furtado. My girlfriend could go with Nelly.
She had a 5-year performing hiatus, but ended it in July 2022, and she joined Drake on stage for a concert in Toronto.
Okay, smart.
Both Canadian.
So wait, is Drake Canadian?
Stop it.
Are you kidding?
You can never talk to me about anything.
This is worse. This is on par with
Drake
Bert.
is not Canadian.
Yes!
He's so publicly Canadian.
He is a minority
Canadian.
owner in the Raptors.
He's in Kentucky's layup line. What do you mean he's so publicly Canadian?
He's a Toronto guy. The Raptors championship run, he was front and center the entire time. What's the album? Views? Where he's
sitting
on the tower in Toronto?
I thought that was Seattle.
It's Toronto.
Gosh. I just want you to be able to read and notice landmarks at a third grade level, Robert.
Toronto has a tall, pointy tower, too.
When the Raptors were trying to sign Kawhi, he was like, I'll give you unlimited access to my private jet if you sign back in Toronto. Like, Drake, where did you think he was from?
His name is Aubrey.
Why is
I don't
it
know how
every
that
time
makes
you
him
do
Canadian. I did not know his name was Aubrey also.
Why is it every time you do my voice you make me sound like Sean Connery?
It is Sean Connery.
It's not me.
Stop it, silly Sally. My mother is also.
No.
No, cutting you off.
Cutting my mic off.
Shadows.
See ya later.
It's like an abrupt one. It like cut him off at the pass. What happened there? Oh, my God. All right. So Jason brought up Aaron Rodgers as I try to take the steering wheel back. And the idea that there is no timetable for the Jets to acquire the quarterback. They need a quarterback. The Packers have basically already moved on and begun discussing Jordan Love as if Jordan Love will be the starter while Aaron Rodgers remains on their roster. This is among several quarterback dominoes in the NFL that has yet to fall, and I think makes the Jets look like they don't have a contingency plan. Doesn't it feel like that if anybody was going to screw this up, does it not feel like the New York Jets organization would be a number one on people or persons to absolutely butcher this?
Absolutely. And I'm torn because I would appreciate the comedy of that if the Jets found a way to botch the Aaron Rodgers situation, but then we would just have to go right back to square one.
We'd have to do it all over again.
I don't want to sign up for that.
You know who would love that?
Who?
Zach Wilson, also a lover of mothers. You know he's gonna come from behind his shadow retreat and he's gonna lead the Jets into the promised land.
All right, remind me the story on Zach Wilson. Like, did he actually take a pass at somebody's mom? I can't remember.
I think what happened was his mom was on an Instagram Live and it was showing all of her friends who seemed promiscuous. I don't know them, but
what?
If they're anything like my mammy, then
No. It was Dax Milne, his former teammate and friend from BYU, who now plays for the Commanders, I believe. Punt returner, slot receiver.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Dax Milne was
dated his ex.
dating Zach's ex-girlfriend, and his ex-girlfriend, somebody went at her on Instagram for like switching up and stuff, and she was like, well, he was hitting on moms.
They called Zach Wilson's ex a homie hopper.
Right. And then she accused him.
And the ex-girlfriend turned around and said, you better talk to your homie about who he's hopping.
So that's where that all started.
Good for him. There are worse tags to be hit with than being a mother lover.
Yeah, bad quarterback.
Sure.
He's a bad quarterback. I don't care if he likes moms, if he stinks at football. Like, is that going to be the most in Zach Wilson's NFL career? Is that going to be his most defining moment? Name me a single other thing that Zach Wilson has done in the NFL of any note, of any repute, any kind of on-field accomplishments that would exceed the number of memes that we've seen of Zach Wilson with bulldogs in his chest cavity on the x-rays because he's got that dog in him because he likes your mom.
Do the Jets have a quarterback curse that we haven't looked at yet? I mean, look back at what they've got. They've got Mark Sanchez with the butt fumble. They've got Geno Smith getting his jaw broken in training camp.
IK and Impali. I don't know why I remember that name.
I'm glad you could say it. And now they have Zach Wilson, the mother lover. If they also move on to Aaron Rodgers, is there a New York Jets quarterback tiff that we don't know about?
It didn't work for Brett Favre, then he turned around and took the Vikings to the playoffs.
After he got out of the Jets. This is why I'm saying New York is uniquely equipped to botch this. And I actively root for it, even if it means we have to talk more about Aaron Rodgers.
Also, for your Zach Wilson moment, I would submit draft night, that big group picture with all the first-round picks where he's nervously looking around. Like, I don't.
And all the other giant people around him looking like a toddler.
Yeah.
I love that he also went to like the most restrictive religious school at BYU, and he's also being like attached with these like, oh, he dates people's mothers.
Oh yeah, he's sexually repressed. Yeah. That's why he's a degenerate out here. Now, I mean, I guess you can you can participate in those things without being a degenerate, I suppose. But yeah, if he turns out the sexual repressions at BYU may have brought out a little bit of freak in Zach Wilson.
So, yeah, if the Jets botch the Aaron Rodgers thing, they're screwed. And they'll probably try to trade for Tannehill.
So that means, which brings us somehow, some way, back to the Tennessee Titans. We landed the plane. Because General Manager Ran Carthon was asked a number of questions this week, yesterday, as a matter of fact, in Phoenix, where the NFL owners' meetings are going on. Now, the initial question he was asked was about Andre Dillard, but he brought up the free agent strategy for the first time since they've signed this class of so far 6 free agents. This was the audio courtesy of Jimmy Wyatt of TennesseeTitans.com.
Oh, with Andre is, I guess for lack of a better way to put it, is untapped potential. This was a guy, a former first-round pick, really athletic, and he just continues to get better. He just needed an opportunity. And I think the overall arching view of the guys that we all brought in, every guy has starter level ability. They just haven't had the opportunity to be full-time starter. And if you kind of think about it, it's kind of how Vrabe's career, started. He was the 3rd-round pick in Pittsburgh, never started in Pittsburgh. Then I got his opportunity in New England, and obviously the rest is the rest, and how he became, the great player that he became. And so each of these guys have log starts here and there. But they've never been full-time starters, and they're guys we believe in that can become starters in our league.
So that's Ran Carthon describing what it was, specifically talking about Andre Dillard first, and then what it was about the rest of them, including Andre, that they decided made the most sense as they tried to acquire these players. Now, he invokes the name of Mike Vrabel and the career of Mike Vrabel as a model for how it is that he's viewing these 6. Not views from the 6, but these 6. In particular. I had no idea until today that the 6 was a reference to Toronto. Until we've exposed my lack of Drake knowledge.
You call yourself I'm not even a Drake fan. Like I don't really listen to that much Drake, and I know that.
Like I knew he went to Raptors games, but I thought Drake just bandwagon teams. Anyway,
that is fair. He goes
he's everywhere.
Yeah. No, that part is fair.
I feel like that's completely fair.
Like, Raptors run a championship run. Of course, Drake was there.
That's what I'm saying. Like I said, he was in Kentucky's layup line and missed a layup. I feel like I'm off the hook. But the Titans are trying to win with value, and Mike Vrabel's career is something that Ran Carthon is citing as a precedent for why these players can succeed when given larger opportunities. Now, there's no guarantee that will work out, and Mike Vrabel, I think, is an interesting example to draw. It's an apt comparison. Mike started out as a special teams linebacker in Pittsburgh, couldn't really latch on, ended up in New England, found his way into carving out a very substantial and pivotal role for that defense and went on to win 3 Super Bowl championships with the Patriots before he was, got by Bill Belichick and shipped off to Kansas City for parts. So with the Titans free agent strategy, what we know is that they're trying to gamble, and I don't think it's like a high risk, but they're trying to gamble on players who they can get at a cost-effective price, who have not had opportunities to play larger roles elsewhere, but can potentially do so here. They've done so with volume. They've got 6 of these guys, 2 offensive linemen, 2 off-ball linebackers, a pass rusher, and a corner. And while they fortify the rest of the things around them, that I think is the free agent strategy that we're going to see moving forward. That also brings up the idea of the wide receiver market because they have not been active in acquiring veteran wide receiver help. If I pose this to you and said, what if Nick Westbrook-Akina is the solution at wide receiver, at veteran wide receiver, that is, like the leadership role we keep talking about? What if that's NWI? What if the veteran player is the guy who's been here with institutional knowledge that they know can play all three positions within their offense, but it's NWI on a 1-year, $1.25 million deal?
At what point does a player become a veteran?
They won't put them on the podium with us until they're 3 years in.
So 3 years into the league, you're a vet.
So vested veterans, like when they can access the NFL's pension, I believe is 4 accrued seasons, but we'll just say for the purposes of not getting complicated, 3 years in the NFL, you're a vet.
Because I'm older than NWI, and with no disrespect to NWI, I have a hard time calling anybody younger than me a vet in this league.
But you're not presiding over a room filled with 23-year-olds. Like if I left
it feels like I am, but I'm not.
That's because that giggle you hear in the background is currently wiping his butt with his hand when he runs out of toilet paper. Nobody can hear you when your microphone's off. I can't do a show with you off mic.
I would never wipe with my hand. I would just take a shower.
You're both older than me.
Why does it feel like he's the most responsible one? See? That's how it makes sense. You don't have to be older than everybody to be the more mature one. Lucas is a shining example of that.
Yes, now I understand.
We've just contextualized that in the best way humanly possible. None of this bleep would get done if Lucas wasn't here to make sure that Robert and I didn't completely crash it into a ditch. Because if left to our own devices, like it sounds like me and Bert are going to be on Friday, right? It's just us.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I forgot.
We're probably going to get fired.
Yeah.
But NWI, in a room full of 23-year-olds at 27, yeah, he's the vet. And it's life experience in the league, right? Now, I'm not making the case that should be the only veteran wide receiver move that they make. I'm just presenting you the argument that exists if one was to be made for NWI. This is somebody who is now going into year 4 in the NFL after coming out of a non-prestige program in college football, my Indiana Hoosiers, making it in the league as an undrafted rookie free agent, being eminently available both to play special teams and to learn all 3 positions that the wide receivers need to know within that offense to make himself an asset, and still being retained despite the guy that gave him his initial shot as an undrafted rookie no longer having a job here. A new general manager thought it fit, and Mike Vrabel, as, I think, having influence here, looking around and saying, you know what, Nick's worth it. Let's bring him back. If the solution is the 6 new guys in NWI, is that enough of a free agent class before we start to get to things like camp bodies and dudes that are on the street and you start bringing guys in because of injuries and stuff like that? Like, is this sufficient for the needs that they have pre-draft? Because at least the outline of the strategy is there. It's winning with value. Now, they have to win. That small detail in the middle of all this cannot be ignored. They have to win football games if I'm going to talk about them trying to win with value.
So NWI, as this team's veteran wide receiver in the room, is just all a part of Rans Bargans, is what you're telling me.
I think one of the most important things on this show is Robert's off-mic laughter. Like, I don't know why that makes me laugh so hard. No. What did we came up with so many better ones than Rans Bargans. I don't want to sink back into that sand pit again.
I haven't heard a single option better than Rans Bargans.
We literally came up with like 7 after you threw that into our laps. So while we consider whether Rans Bargans is the best solution to describe the Titans free agency class, we're going to have him on the show again, and I'm going to make you say that out loud to him and see what happens. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for that moment when you and I are sitting with an NFL general manager at training camp, and you have to put in front of him, so, Ran, tell me about these Bargans, huh? with an elbow, nudging him a little bit. Tell me about these bargains that you were able to find in free agency this year.
Well, Rand, like me, is a bit of a poet, a bit of an artist with words.
Is
so I
he?
think he'll appreciate it.
I don't. Nothing that we do around here could be described as artistry. What is art is the fact that there is not a single number one seed left in the NCAA tournament on the men's side of things. We have not had the opportunity to talk about how many brackets are completely busted with a really, really unique Final Four. We'll get into that coming up next. this what we're doing for the rest of the day? Nelly Furtado Day?
Why not?
I mean, I guess. We'll see if we can't work through the catalog at this point and educate ourselves along the way. Welcome back to the show. 615-737-1045 is the number. We understand the circumstance, the seriousness of everything going on in Middle Tennessee today. That's why we opened the show the way that we did. We have since decided to continue to do show as normal and to try and, get your guys' minds off of things, that are hovering, for lack of a better term, as we all try and work through that element of it. We're going to tell you some places that you can donate as well to support the victims of the Covenant School shooting here in just a little bit, so stick around for that. And I know you guys will always do respond anytime there is a need to do good. But given the way that yesterday took a tragic turn, we did not do anything around sports from the weekend, including the Final Four, which is going to look a lot different this year. Can I interest you in a Florida Atlantic versus San Diego State matchup to go to the championship game on Saturday night?
Yes.
I can interest you specifically, Lucas Panzica.
Absolutely.
Robert, if I told you that you were to watch FAU and San Diego State compete in anything athletically, how would you respond to me?
He's not in the room.
What do you mean he's not in the room?
He's not in the room.
That's not true. You just looked over there at him.
No, I just wanted to let you finish the question and get silence. Nah, he's smoking a cigarette. But yes, the fact that either FAU or San Diego State will be in the national championship game and the fight that is going to ensue as both of them try to get to that spot for the first and likely only time in program history is more than enough to get me to watch, just like it was when San Diego State and Creighton were playing in the Elite Eight on Sunday.
Again.
That was fantastic television because neither of them had been to a Final Four, and the fight all the way to the final half second to get there was so much fun to watch.
All right, put it on the poll at Buck Rising since we're now back to doing polls. Is it fantastic television if nobody watches?
If a tree falls in the woods and nobody sees it, doesn't make a sound.
That's what I'm saying. At Buck Rising, is it fantastic television if nobody watches? Because that's what you just described to me between Creighton and San Diego State. Because that game was highly contested, 57-56 the final. It's one of the better basketball games that I've seen all season long. San Diego State has been a delight, and also the country does not give a damn. The parts of the country that these teams are from, South Florida has 2 teams in the Final Four. Do you think they know? Because I'm certain that they don't. So some University of Miami super booster, what's this guy's name? John Ruiz, that is just so loud and problematic on Twitter around trying to sign athletes to contracts and then potentially seeking litigation after they choose to, maybe not go to the University of Miami, even though we're trying to make this thing professional sports. South Florida has Miami and Florida Atlantic in the Final Four, and I bet the vast majority of that part of the country does not give a damn.
I think you're underestimating Miami's fan base. Yes, even if it's not spreading far and wide to the people of the Miami community that don't have an affiliation with the Miami Hurricanes, that fan base is massive, and they're going to show up.
The football fan base is massive.
Okay, all right.
And by the way, it's really not that massive.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Because the enrollment is the word that I'm looking for. Miami is a tiny school. So, yes, there is branding, there are 30 for 30s, and also that has not been the case for, decades at this point. So I think while I may be underestimating it, I think you might be vastly overestimating it.
I consider, I know it's a massive school, but I consider Indiana's fan base, especially when it comes to basketball, to be pretty damn big, right? I see them crawling all over Nashville on Indiana game days when you're playing Purdue.
It's a weird amount.
I saw a lot this season in particular. Maybe I notice it more because you're always walking in with that IU hockey sweatshirt on. But
we're back, baby.
But it's a pretty big fan base, Indiana basketball. Do Indiana fans give a damn about football?
No.
No. You've told me this many times.
No.
If Indiana got hot and
care about Notre Dame.
If Indiana football got hot and went to the college football playoff, you're telling me Indiana fans wouldn't be there in droves?
I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't care?
I would have no interest whatsoever.
Then you are not a human, my friend.
No, I think students will show up. I think it'll be a party. I think there'd be a collection of, I'm sure there's people who have some kind of history with Indiana football. Indiana football has at one point played in a Rose Bowl, so like the people that are still alive from that may be interested.
I think a ton of Indiana fans would show up for that.
I think you are vastly overestimating Miami as a fan base and just basically as a sports culture, because I feel like the vast majority of Miami fans. No, let me not say that. I feel like a lot of Miami fans aren't from South Florida. So while I do acknowledge that they are a fan base, the fan base is there for the branding. The fan base is there for the turnover chain, which I think no longer exists under Mario Cristobal. The fan base is there for the U, for, Ivan, the Ibis, and all these different things on a football field. Tyreek, is it Tyreek Stevens? No, that's a Miami football player. Either way, this is probably CBS's worst nightmare. FAU, Miami. You have on the other side of the bracket, UConn.
FAU plays San Diego State.
And San Diego State.
Yeah, Miami plays UConn. UConn, the only blue blood in there.
Sorry, I had to scroll. I couldn't remember who beat the holy hell out of Gonzaga.
And I do consider UConn. They beat them pretty bad. UConn's a blue blood.
UConn's gonna win. UConn is absolutely going to come out of here. But the other three of them, I think this may be the least interesting Final Four of my lifetime.
Because the ratings aren't going to be good? Why does it have to be that the ratings have to be good for it to be interesting? It can be a fascinating Final Four and no one watches. I don't give a damn. I'm going to watch it and I'm going to enjoy it.
I misspoke. I will be interested. I love college basketball. Miami is a lot of fun. San Diego State, I was not watching them during the regular season. They have done nothing but kick ass during the tournament. And UConn might be the most unstoppable thing in the field this year because of how deep their lineup and how diversified, as far as skill set is concerned, their lineup is. I'm not interesting is the wrong word. People's level of interest in this Final Four, it may be at an all-time low in my basketball consuming lifetime, is how I should have said.
Yeah, that might be true. But you also don't have to give a damn about that. You can watch it and enjoy the games. Speaking of must-see TV, this matchup in the women's Final Four between South Carolina and Iowa, I mean, you talk about an individual matchup.
I'm still mad at Iowa.
Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark is the best star-on-star matchup in college basketball this year. You cannot name me an individual matchup in the San Diego State FAU game or UConn-Miami game. I mean, Sonogo and Isaiah Wong's going to be fun.
Is Caitlin Clark the most famous player in college basketball this year?
I think she is, especially after what she did the other night. First 40-point triple-double in NCAA tournament history. Unbelievable performance from Caitlin Clark, I believe, Sunday night in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
She's so fun to watch.
I'm sorry. You said the Elite Eight. Yeah, the game coming up this Friday, South Carolina and Iowa, LSU and Virginia Tech on the other side of the women's bracket in the women's Final Four. Honestly, I think I'm more intrigued because of the players. Now, basketball is unique this way. I'm as intrigued by that Iowa-South Carolina game as I am in any game in the men's Final Four.
Yeah. I mean, South Carolina's undefeated. They're trying to run the table. And Iowa's trying to crash the party like Wisconsin did to Kentucky in the men's game a few years ago.
Just to say that again, a 40-point triple-double.
Yeah.
Is insanity. That's insanity. So, again, the level of interest, I think, will be at an all-time low. If you are a fan of sports, of competitiveness, and of just diversity in your bracket.
And history. I mean, you're talking about history, no matter what, how it shakes out in the men's game.
615-737-1045 is how you join the discussion. Let's get into Kevin Byard. Rand Carthon vehemently denied one of the rumors swirling around one of his players. Kevin Byard is the player, and his status with the team right now is still up in the air. But one thing is not. We'll let you hear from the Titans general manager on this fact coming up next.
It is 12:01. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson announced on social media yesterday that he requested a trade from the Baltimore Ravens on March 2nd. The Ravens placed Jackson on the non-exclusive tag just days later, allowing other teams to negotiate contract terms with Lamar Jackson. The Ravens would have an opportunity to match if they decided not to. Jackson could go to that new team in exchange for 2 first-round picks. Ravens coach John Harbaugh did meet with the media at the NFL owners' meetings yesterday and expressed that he expects Jackson to be the Ravens quarterback in 2023. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
It's a final hour here on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome in, welcome back. If you've been kicking it with us so far, we're happy to have each and every one of you here in a difficult time for this city, but we're hoping that we can lighten things up a little bit, screw around, make fun of ourselves, have you guys make fun of us, and see if we can't talk some sports in the meantime. 615-737-1045. That's how you get a hold of Robert, Lucas, and myself for the hour that we have left remaining with you. How's morale back there, kids? How we feeling? I feel like we made the right decision to kind of get this thing back up and feeling a little bit more normal. I feel like it's pulled us out of a bit of a funk, because I know all three of us walked in here today looking around at each other like, are we really about to do this?
I was letting Bert go first.
Oh, I thought he was smoking a cigarette again.
No, he's back.
I have smoked enough cigarettes for a lifetime today.
I know.
I'm kind of upset you didn't let me do my own no the way I wanted to do it, to be honest with you.
Do you want to play the music again? It's not too late.
Well, you can't just.
I can just. I did just.
You gonna act like you gonna make him hit it?
Yeah.
Hit it, Lucas.
Oh, now you have to.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. So bad.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
All right, it's the biggest hour of the show. It's the most listened to hour of the show. And we're leading it off because Robert wants to be selfish and say what made him say, oh, no, in sports this week. Go ahead.
Last week, Bradley Beal was in a losing effort against the Magic, and as he was walking off, I was reminded of the 2 facts about athletes that everyone should be reminded of. 1, they do not give a rip about your fantasy team, and they do not give a rip about your bets. As he was walking off the court in a 122-112 loss to the Magic, he was approached by a group of men who yelled, "You bleeped me out of $13, you bleep!" To which Bradley Beal responded, "I don't give a bleep about your bets or your parlays, bro. That ain't why I play the game." And he knocked the hat off of one of the go-tours of the game. So now that man is saying, I'm going to sue.
He was assaulted?
He said, when he knocked that hat off my head, he struck my head, and I am going to get my $1,300 one way or the other. I don't know who the oh no is.
Oh, wait. $1,300.
Yeah, you didn't say $1,300.
You initially said $13.
Numbers are hard.
It would be way funnier if it was $13.
I told you earlier about his struggles with grammar.
Listen here, Six God. You pull up over there and you listen to this. I don't know who the oh no goes to, but I'm going to lean to the fans. Athletes do not care about your bets. And if they did, they would be working with me to let me inside and make a little bit more money. So Bradley Beal, knock the hat off whoever you want to. My oh no goes to those fans.
It's a pretty demeaning thing to do to someone, just knock the hat off their head.
I think it's about as disrespectful as you can be.
It's that, and it's the easy little double pop you do to somebody's cheek when you know they're being like a so-and-so. You're like, hey, just keep it down, buddy. And you give them that double tap on the cheek. That, or just calling someone buddy. Calling someone buddy.
Buck does that every day. He calls everybody buddy.
But in his case, I'm not threatened because I don't think Buck could beat me up. But in most cases, if a guy's like, hey, watch out, buddy, I'm like, oh, what's going on, tough guy? You got a problem?
You ever seen Succession, Robert?
Yeah, I need to get into it. I'm finishing up Sopranos now.
All right, well, no spoiler alerts, but in one of the previous seasons, because you don't think I can beat you up, one of the characters is confronting another character who has been having an affair with the first character's wife. And there is a confrontation at their wedding. So the one character walks up to the person who's been having an affair with his wife and says, I will pay somebody to break your legs. I'm not going to beat you up.
God bless.
I'm not getting anywhere near you. I'll be in a different state.
Yeah, you're right.
I will pay men to break your legs. Don't tell HR.
Listen, all I'm saying is if somebody calls me buddy, I'm going to go full Joe Dirt on them. My fists are mics. They don't like no feedback. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. What's up? All right? I don't play those games. Don't call me buddy. I'm not your pal.
I'm not your buddy guy.
You know who else says buddy? You. You say buddy as much as I do now. You've been spending too much time around.
Talking to me?
Yeah,
entirely too much time.
I do that. I get like things from osmosis from people I know. Like I pick up tendencies from people in my life.
So you're a fraud.
Yeah, pretty much. I chain smoke cigarettes now. Ever since I've. No, that's not true.
I wouldn't say you chain smoke. You just partake. You just hit a little puff here, hit a little puff there.
I haven't smoked a cigarette in many years.
We can fix that.
I don't think I've smoked a cigarette since you were allowed to smoke them inside at Red Door.
Well, technically, you have smoked a cigarette because you've been around me enough now that
that's true.
I would say by second.
In that case,
smoke,
I'm a pack-a-day smoker.
Hey, before we get to the Rand Carthon, he's not even smoking in the production room. He's just coughing. It's like
just walking in.
What's
afterwards.
the character from? It's not the Muppets.
Pigpen.
Charlie Brown.
Yeah, Pigpen.
It's not dirt that surrounds Robert. It's just a giant cloud of cancerous smoke. That's what surrounds Robert Walsh. Can we have a conversation before we talk about Rand Carthon denying Kevin Byard release rumors? Robert Walsh left me alone to potentially die on Saturday night.
No.
Do you want to tell? I don't know if I should tell this story or if you should tell this story.
You pulled a me, to be honest. I am the king of the Irish goodbye, and you just you were gone.
He has perfected the Irish goodbye. Got to give that to him.
So Robert and I didn't. We had no previous designs to go to the soccer game together this past Saturday.
In fact, you positioned against it. You were like, no, I will not go to the soccer game with you.
In fact, I said I didn't want you to go to the soccer game with me.
You were going. You just didn't want to be there with Robert.
That's correct. I was going. The curse continues because I have not seen a local professional team win a game in person since November 17th. 7 straight Titans losses, the Preds home opener season loss.
So in Green Bay?
In Green Bay,
that's
the last time I've seen.
It wasn't even a local win.
Yeah, so what? Like, when's the last time
team winning a game?
What's the last home game the Titans won? Because that would be the last time you saw a local professional team win in Nashville.
Who did they play? Was it No, they lost to the Bengals, right? Hadn't they lost a couple of games before the Packers game?
No, they were 7 because they lost the first 2, and then after Packers game they were 7-3.
But I think that loss might have come before Thursday Night Football. I don't recall exactly who the team was, but whatever their last home win is the last time I've seen a
Broncos.
team.
That's right. They beat the Broncos the week before at Nissan Stadium. The Bengals loss followed the Packers win, and that's what started the losing streak.
Okay, I had Bengals and Broncos mixed up. Either way, I have not seen a local team win a game, home or away, since November 17th in person, because I go to every Titans game, they lost 7 straight. I went to the Preds home opener, they got dummied, and every time I think about it, they get 7 goals put on them in the first period. I went to the soccer game. I was excited. The atmosphere at Geodis Park was electric. They had not lost a home game all year. What did they do?
Tyler on YouTube says, the next Nashville Soccer Club game I go to, I'm going to make sure Buck's not there.
Honestly, 1-0 is how they lost with Lucas Panzica on the call. Maybe it's a Lucas problem. Who's to say? But Robert and I go to the soccer game where we meet up at I don't think it was quite halftime of the soccer game.
Close enough.
Robert decides that he wants to leave the soccer game. And I am supportive of this because by that point I had imbibed quite a bit and I was teetering. Our buddy Protohype, Max, who is the DJ, was DJing the soccer game. Max wanted to take a tequila shot with me. I obliged. I did not feel very good after the tequila shot. I may or may not have thrown up in a trash can inside of Geodis Park. Who's to say?
Oh, my God.
Who's to say?
Is that the Zone's Buck Rising?
That happened a couple of times at the tailgate while I was drinking a champagne bottle by myself in an empty field.
It's so funny to watch you interact with people, and I know that you're off your rocker, and they're like, "Oh man, love the show," and Buck's like trying to hold it together. But I left you, or you left me.
Which is really a moral story about me not being so publicly drunk. But, another day. It's a Saturday. Leave me alone. So we go to the soccer game. We meet Robert at halftime. We find V-Love. There's our friend Haley Murphy. There's a bunch of people running around down there, and everybody's, trying to get after it. So Robert at some point and his lovely girlfriend Cheyenne and her friend's name, who is?
Reagan.
They are ready to go. I have previously gone to the soccer game with another couple who has been sitting in the stands the entire time, and I just haven't told them where I've gone and that I'm not coming back. So I Irish goodbye. Lucas will know, my buddy Larry, who he and his wife I went with, and we just abandoned them. I didn't tell them. He texted me asking me where I was. I had been gone from that stadium for 35 minutes.
Oh, you're the worst.
So Robert and Cheyenne and Reagan shepherd me back to my home where we hang out for a little bit longer, and then we decide that we are going to go to a bar in my neighborhood. We go to the bar. We arrive at the bar. I buy 3 drinks for Robert, Reagan, and Cheyenne, and a water for myself. Cheyenne looks at me and says, "You're not getting a drink?" And I said, "No, I'm going to throw up again. I need to leave."
So Buck takes us to the deepest, darkest corner of this bar and looks at me and goes, "I have to go."
You know.
To which he informed me afterwards, I assumed he was going to be taking an Uber, maybe getting a Lyft, one of his proclivities. That sounds like
proclivities.
There you go. Whatever. One of your situations was going to pick you up. I didn't know what was going on.
One of my situations? Is that what?
But then you informed me that you did not Uber home.
I walked. At 1 a.m. in the morning, I walked home from this bar. Now, it's not a terribly far walk. It's probably somewhere between 8 and 10 blocks. But this is at 1 a.m. in the morning. Robert, Cheyenne, and Reagan are looking around for me as if I've just gone to the bathroom and going to return to the table very soon, when, in fact, I have tried to get an Uber. I've lost my wallet, so I've canceled all my cards. Can't order an Uber.
Buddy.
Can't order an Uber because I've already canceled my cards. I looked at my phone the next morning. You remember our experience in Indianapolis with the Lime scooter?
I do, yes.
I had the Lime app on my phone.
He tried to lime.
But there was no scooter around me. No scooters working around me. So after a while, I guess, because I had looked at the Lime app the next day and said, "I've never limed in my life. I don't think I've been on a scooter since the draft." So I was trying to figure out where the hell this Lime app came from. And then I recalled that Robert abandoned me, left me alone to not get an Uber, to not get a scooter, to walk home in the middle of the night back to my place in cowboy boots and a Nashville SC pullover.
You going to be there for the Toronto game next weekend?
Yeah,
your boots.
I'll be in the 6. Got a break. Welcome back to the show here on this Tuesday. Buck Rising here with you until 1 o'clock. 615-737-1045 is the number. Aaron Wilson of KPRC2, local TV in Houston. Texans are indeed not expected to pursue Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson per league sources, as focus is on NFL draft quarterback prospects, including visits with Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, and Hendon Hooker. So now the Texans have said no thank you to Lamar. The Falcons have said no thank you. The Commanders have said we're good, among several other teams that have decided that they are not interested in pursuing the Ravens quarterback. The Tennessee Titans have not done any such declarations, but I don't think Rand Carthon was asked at the NFL owners' meetings about Lamar Jackson, nor do I think he'd respond because Ryan Tannehill is still under contract. Just for a quick update, Metro Nashville Police Department spokesman Don Aaron is currently giving a press conference about the Covenant School shooting. If there is any new information for us to disseminate to you, we will do so. And we may well break into this press conference live if there is enough relevant information, new information that you guys need to hear. So just an update on that. It's also being carried on local news stations, local television news stations as well, as we continue to await clarity on how it is that this tragic situation came to pass yesterday, about 4 miles from where we do this show in Green Hills. So, meanwhile, Rand Carthon was asked questions about several players on the Titans roster at the NFL owners meeting. And a couple of those players in particular are ones that are being discussed as potentially being moved: Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and Kevin Byard. Now, what Rand Carthon had to say about Kevin Byard was not available via video, but the quote about it was pretty telling, given that there was rumors floating around about Kevin Byard and his status with the Tennessee Titans a couple of weeks ago. I think it was the Friday, the first round of the NCAA tournament, that Lucas and I had. We had finished the show early because we had been preempted by basketball, and I think, in fact, speaking of which, I was at a bar with Robert, which I should not have been, again, for the second time. But I got a call that there was a rumor going around and that had been espoused on local radio that Kevin Byard had asked, and it should be said, not this radio station, but espoused on a different radio station, that Kevin Byard had asked for his release. Now, we didn't have the opportunity to talk about that live, and I had to work through that on Friday and over the weekend to figure out whether Kevin Byard had, in fact, asked for his release, because it was reported and confirmed that the team had asked him to take a pay cut. Now, what we came back with on Monday when we came back to do the show is, I told you guys, and I think Teron Davenport was another one to confirm this, Adam Schefter did as well, that Kevin Byard had been asked to take a pay cut, but had in fact not asked for his release from the team. Rand Carthon was asked specifically about the situation with Kevin Byard, and this was the quote about their all-pro safety, who, they have to figure out what they're going to do with at this point. So this is what Jimmy Wyatt wrote in his recap article from the owners' meetings in Phoenix this week. Plenty of rumors have made the rounds in recent weeks, including some involving safety Kevin Byard. Carthon wanted to make one thing clear, quote, "I will say this, KB nor his representatives ever asked us for a release." So that was blatantly false. That's what I'll say about that. Carthon added he also, quote, "has a ton of respect for KB and we'd love for him to continue his career as a Titan," but did not comment specifically on the pay cut. He also added that nothing has changed regarding the statuses of Derrick Henry or Ryan Tannehill on the roster, and said that he thinks that he and Jeff Simmons are in a great place. They're working hard to get back healthy from his ankle situation, which is as far as he would go. So with Rand Carthon denying the Kevin Byard release situation, Kevin Byard having not asked publicly for his release, but there still being some resolution that needs to come because they're still quite tight to the cap at this point. Are there any more moves that they absolutely must make that will require, for lack of a better term, a bit of a salary cap blood sacrifice that involves Byard, Henry, and what seems like a much longer shot at this point, Ryan Tannehill? I think that if you ask me today, having the information that we have at our disposal, which of those three players was least likely to be on this roster come training camp in August, I would say that Kevin Byard is the least likely at this point. Now, let me explain that. They have asked him to take a pay cut. Restructures are common. Pay cuts are not in the NFL. Kevin Byard has been restructured twice, which is why his salary cap number looks as egregious as it does. $20 million damn near for a safety is tough to eat in today's NFL marketplace, especially when they're dealing with the amount of dead money here that they already are. You do not approach a player, all-pro, rookie, veteran, or otherwise, about a pay cut unless you intend to take some action. They have not yet taken any action with Kevin Byard. It's less than $6 million to release him right now. It goes up to over $13 million if they designate him as a post-June 1 release. Now, there is a substantial difference between 13 and less than 6, where salary cap implications are concerned. If they do it, they will have a significant hole in their defense that they'll already have to be making up because they chose not to bring back David Long. And if they do release Kevin Byard, you're talking about a scrambling of the deck in a different kind of way. Two guys directly responsible for communication and for execution on that defense. Do you have to take action? Not necessarily. At least that's not the way that it looks from the outside. But again, I don't know what their plans are. They have not been ruled in or out on Lamar Jackson, for example. There has been precious little discussion around them in the wide receiver market, as we discuss. And by the way, let me add this for those of you who are wringing your hands about the lack of veteran wide receiver options in Tennessee right now or that have been signed at present. Wide receivers probably don't want to play here, especially when you look at the marketplace, but I'll explain more what I mean by that here in just a moment. So do you have to take action with Kevin Byard? I mean, not necessarily. They have cap space right now. It's not a lot. They're going to need to use the vast majority of what they have for the draft class, the practice squad, and an injury pool. But I think that Kevin Byard is the least likely to be here given the circumstance, given the way that things are trending. They can lower Ryan Tannehill's cap hit by extending him. They can do the same for Derek. Byard's is a little different because the deal currently runs through 2020. Well, 2025 and 2026 are years on his current contract, but they're also voidable years, which is a part of the restructure process. So it would be complicated if they went about this with an extension at this point. Now, I think that there is a lot of different ways that they can go about this. But again, those post-June 1 savings, they would not get until after June 1. So I don't necessarily know that that's going to help you with the free agent crop that's out there. Now, maybe you make a trade late. Maybe you ride the Lamar thing out until June. I have no idea what they would do with that money, hypothetically, if they were to cut KB. But there is a circumstance in which Kevin Byard ends up not on this roster next year, and I think that's the most likely outcome of those three, especially if Kevin Byard has already displayed an interest in not taking said pay cut.
It just seems crazy, doesn't it? The guy who, with all the problems this team has had over the last 2 years, has been the model of
Model
durability.
citizen, model durability, model player, model leader, model everything. Model of what Middle Tennessee homegrown athletes look like.
And not even, and obviously the local stuff is important with KB and especially for people in this community, but But put all of that aside for a second. Just who he is as a player and a person in that locker room that embodies everything Mike Vrabel wants in a player, including the durability and consistency factor on the defensive side of the ball.
Oh, they want him. They just don't want him for 19 against the cap.
I know. It's just and I get that. It's just crazy that that's the guy that you go to when Vrabel's continue to cite him over and over as that model player.
No, I'm sure Mike Vrabel don't want to let him go. They don't want to let him go. They asked him to take less money, and he said no. When that is you talk about the impasse that you're at right now. They want him here. They just don't want to pay him what he's currently making. They want him here. They're just telling him, yeah, but you're not worth that much.
Kevin on YouTube says, I feel like Autry is a cut candidate we haven't heard about, but we need to talk about. He saved $7 million with only $2 million in dead cap. Older has missed more games than KB.
I've brought that up before, and not that it's implausible because that is still a substantial amount of savings, but I do think that Danico Autry is somebody that they would like to retain and implement as a part of that platoon system. And I do think that if you are doing the cost-benefit analysis, you would rather have more pass rushers than safeties. Now, I'm not like if you wanted to make up for the lack of all-pro safety in your secondary, you would do that by building an unholy, gnashing and wailing front seven that I think that they're trying to emphasize more. They are not going to be a better football team without Kevin Byard. Nothing is there guaranteeing that Kevin Byard is going to be released. But if you're asking me if of those three players who is least likely to end up on this roster before the 2023 season, I would say Kevin Byard is the one. Because there has been no discussion, no reporting, nothing whatsoever, not even a whisper, not even rumors, not even made bleep up about Ryan Tannehill being approached about restructures, pay cuts, extensions, or the like. Much less a release. And the Rodgers thing, holding the Jets hostage, trade talks theoretically couldn't move forward until the Jets figure out whether they can or cannot trade for Aaron Rodgers. So Tannehill, I think, is most likely to end up on this roster, and Derek's trade market has been significantly diminished both by the quality of this running back draft class and by the other players who have reportedly been made available either by their own trade requests like Austin Eckler or because their teams are shopping them like Dalvin Cook. So all these things are something to keep in mind as we get closer to this, or as we continue through the offseason. We've got our offseason workout dates officially released for all 32 NFL clubs, which means that kind of stuff is right around the corner in late April and early May. AJ says, we don't need to cut anyone. For what? Who are we spending the money on? Well, I can't answer that question, and your general manager is not going to answer that question either. The question, the money at some point is going to go to Jeff Simmons or needs to try and go to Jeff Simmons, but they haven't had much progress on that deal as it stands right now. So keep all these things in mind as you monitor various transactions. But there is always one move every offseason that is shocking to a city, to a fan base, a curveball, for lack of a better term. Except the curveball this year feels like it's Kevin Byard, and I don't know that it's necessarily sneaking up on us. We'll see. 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation. So, with that being said, that brings us back to spending or not spending. They're not spending on wide receivers right now. They did a one-year, $1.25 million deal with NWI, reportedly. They know they have needs for skill positions in the draft. And I think that wide receiver-wise, it does not look like they have seen or had a ton of interest in a lot of players that have been out there, though I know that they have talked to some of these players and at least explored the market because they have a pro scouting staff specifically to do so. The other angle of this that I would like to pose that I'm not reporting it, this is pure speculation, but based on the nature of deals that we have seen from wide receivers around the league this year who have been unrestricted free agents, where you look at the long-term deals that were done and far more one-year prove-it deals that were handed out among or by teams that were in the wide receiver market this year. When I put in front of you the guys who are unrestricted free agents in this list of names where The long-term deals, there were one 4-year deal for Alan Lazard, 3-year deals for Jacoby Myers, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Adam Thielen, 2-year deals for Robert Woods, Darius Slayton, Deontay Hardy, and Ashton Doolin. Everybody else on this, DJ Chark, Paris Campbell, Mecole Hardman, Zach Pascal, Braxton Berrios, on down the list, 1-year deals. If you're a player if you're a wide receiver on a short-term deal, and you're looking around at the open marketplace, free agency for the first time, saying, all right, this is the best opportunity, this is the best value for you. If you play well, if you perform well, we'll be able to cash in on the other side of this 1-year contract. Are you even factoring the Tennessee Titans into consideration there as a wide receiver and as a wide receiver's representative? I would say absolutely not. Now, I'm sure there are wide receivers who will relish the opportunity to play with any club that's willing to offer them a contract. But I'm talking about the guys who actually have potential to cash in elsewhere. Mecole Hardman, DJ Chark in particular, Paris Campbell, who's only 25 years old and could do with a flyer. Well, Paris Campbell looked around at the marketplace, and you know what sounds better? 1 year in New York. If they can turn Daniel Jones into that, I can figure it out. I'll at least be able to statistically compile there and put things together to put together a contract situation. Again, I'm not reporting that the Tennessee Titans are being actively turned down by wide receivers. I'm just posing you the devil's advocate argument of if you were a wide receiver on a 1-year deal, would you have any interest in playing here? I think the answer is a resounding hell no.
There's just not a sample size for a receiver coming here and maxing their value.
Well, there is, but he had to go to another team to do it. AJ was getting ready to max value, and Tennessee said, nah, we'll move you. So A.J. Brown had the opportunity to maximize his value, did so, had the talent level to do so, and now is, playing for the Philadelphia Eagles because the Tennessee Titans said, nah, we're good. So that is the sample size. It's not a good one, and the wide receiver position for this franchise has been damned. I mean, really, since they've been the Tennessee Titans, and really since Drew Bennett and Derek Mason. We'll see how it plays out. They're obviously not done. Post-draft free agency is a real thing. Teams will fill out more of their needs more cost-effectively, and we'll move on from there. We have been taking a break. By the way, you guys were monitoring back there the Metro Nashville PD press conference. Any new information that needs to be disseminated to the audience about the school shooting that took place yesterday at Covenant School?
No, not necessarily. They kind of reiterated that none of the individual victims were targeted by the shooter. The school was, and as they had said before, there were other planned attacks that obviously will not get carried out. And really the only new information was the amount of guns and how she purchased the guns.
So there are ways for you to donate to the victims of the Covenant School shooting. For those of you who are looking for information, I always hesitate to push that stuff out there until such time as we have confirmed places where you can go. But you can support the families of the victims of yesterday's horrific shooting by donating to the Community Foundation Fund. 100% of the proceeds will go to the victims' families. It is important, I think, for all of us as we continue to try and stick together to support one another in any way humanly possible, financially, morally, emotionally, or otherwise. Community Foundation is where you go to donate. That is, and I will give you the exact website URL in just a moment. In fact, we'll tweet that out from my account and from the Zones account. Well, can we tweet that out from the Zones account? I think that's okay. Or maybe we'll tweet it out from my account and maybe we'll have the Zone retweet it. Either way. We will get you the resources for you to be able to donate. Anything helps at this point as the families deal with loss of life. So just wanted to get that note out there. CFMT.org. CFMT.org. That's the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee. Last call for phone calls. Are we going to do polls?
Do some polls.
Okay, we'll do some polls coming up next. Wrapping up today here on 104.5 The Zone. I don't know if it felt a little more normal, but at least for us to kind of get back into the swing of things, or try to. We appreciate you guys giving us a little grace as we awkwardly try to transition from very, very serious subject matter, the Covenant School shooting yesterday, into trying to do whatever it is the hell that they pay us to do around here, which is largely stupid and not knowing the things that we're paid to know how to talk about, which has been exposed, I think, on multiple different levels today, not just institutional lack of knowledge, not just sports misinformation, not just pop culture. I mean, we've butchered pop culture today.
Yeah, we dipped into all of it today, all of our incompetencies.
We have been successfully versatile in how dumb we've been, I think, as a show.
Good job by us.
Good job by us. We told you that the Community Foundation Fund is the most legitimate place for you guys to donate. We invite you to do so. CFMT.org is where you can donate financially, support financially the victims of the Covenant School shooting. We're gonna, like I said, as new information becomes available, we'll keep you guys updated with that. I'm sure Blaine and Mickey 3HL will do the same, but I just did want to say thank you guys for letting us get back to kind of some normalcy. I think it was good for everybody's headspace today to kind of do that. I feel a lot different now at the end of the show than I did when we were first walking in here, because it was, I don't know, we were looking around at each other like we weren't really sure what to do. Anyway, polls, please.
Stop the count! Stop the count! The polls have closed and the votes have been tallied. It's the segment where bias takes over and nuance goes to die. Now, here's your favorite Buck Rising Show daily correspondent, Lucas Polzica.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, who sells below MSRP on any non-specialty new Ford. Does the fact that there is not a 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed in the... No, there is a 4 seed. I wrote that wrong. Is the fact that there is not a 1, 2,
Twitter account?
or 3 seed in the Final Four make you more or less inclined to watch? 65% say more. So many people in the replies. So UConn just doesn't exist now?
You left the best team...
What is the more likely?
No. Did you do that on purpose? You know what? Put it out. Put it out on Twitter. Did Lucas do that on purpose? I don't want it to say anything, nothing related to the Final Four. Did Lucas do that on purpose, yes or no?
Oh, 100% say yes.
Okay.
Does the fact that I'm reading the same tweet, what is the more likely starting quarterback situation for the Colts? Rookie quarterback or Lamar? 87% say a rookie quarterback.
Why are you laughing back there? You're not blameless.
He stopped laughing very quickly.
Because you talk about my boy. I feel like we've all been exceptionally dumb today, so I'm just laughing in the rebel.
I'm going to send you back not to the shadows, but to a bathtub full of cigarettes and tears.
Will NWI end up being the most experienced wide receiver on the Titans roster? 55% say yes, he will.
It does seem like it's trending that way, though. There's still much free agency left to go and a lot of time before we get to post-draft stuff.
So, because we've talked about how young the cornerback room is as well. I think you're looking at the possibility of both the Titans and cornerback rooms having the oldest age of... Is it 26 that Trey Avery? Trey Avery's the oldest corner?
Trey Avery's the oldest corner on the roster.
I believe he's 26.
Yeah, that's accurate.
That's crazy. Who is most likely to not be on the Titans roster in 2023? Is it Ryan Tannehill? Is it Kevin Byard? Or is it Derrick Henry? 55%, majority are going with Tannehill. 23% Henry. Only 22% think it's Kevin Byard.
I think it's Byard. Those are polls?
Those are not the polls. What's worse?
What was that pause?
Buck Rising not knowing Drake is Canadian. Burt Walsh confusing Nelly and Nelly Furtado. Or me, Lucas, calling Gayle King Gale Sayers. Thankfully not to her face. 39% are going with Burt, Nelly Furtado.
Really?
35% are going with you, not knowing Drake is Canadian. And 26% are going with the Gayle King, Gale Sayers thing.
I think Gayle King. I stand by I think that Drake, me not knowing Drake was Canadian, is the most forgivable because the thing that you cited was the Raptors, and I see Drake on the sidelines or on a court side at every sporting event of every team that mattered ever.
It's such a well-known fact that Drake is Canadian, and you are a self-proclaimed Drake fan who is willing to shell out all kinds of money for floor seats of a Drake concert at Bridgestone Arena. So I do think it's worse. I think it'd be more acceptable if I didn't know Drake was Canadian. But I do know Drake is Canadian because I pay attention. It's on an album cover. He got famous on a Canadian TV show.
Degrassi's Canadian?
Yeah, stop it. Stop it. Don't put your glasses on try to look smarter.
Yeah.
Like,
Look at you trying to compensate.
You look like the dumb Clark Kent right now.
It's at least a Canadian version of Degrassi, right?
Yeah, no, it's a Canadian show. You were right.
Yeah.
We're not dumb. He's dumb.
Is it still great television if no one watches it? 52% say no,
That
which
may be my
I
favorite
totally
poll
disagree.
ever. That may be my favorite poll ever. That is the justification for how bad this final. Now is that the polls?
Those are the polls.
Excellent. That was some kind of a show. I don't know what it was, but it was a show. Great to have you guys with us today. Thanks for helping us get through and keeping us upright as we tried to do this stupid, silly thing that they allow us to do for 3 hours each and every Monday through Friday. Tyler says Buck needs to watch the David Grohl commercial crediting everything from Canada.
Did you know Seth Rogen's Canadian?
No.
Do you know Justin Bieber's Canadian?
I feel like yes.
Did you know Ryan Reynolds is Canadian?
No.
You need to catch up.
Canada has everybody. They don't have us.
Good for them.
Beacons of light. They don't have us. That is going to do it for us today. Thanks for hanging out. Blaine and Mickey got you the rest of the way. I'll talk to you tonight on A to Z Sports Primetime.